All right, Salwan Momika, the Iraqi man who staged the burning of the Holy Quran several times.
Last night, he was shot dead in his apartment.
Who killed Salwan Momika? Was it a jihadist revenging Momika's burning of the Quran? Was it Sweden's government and their desire to appease the Muslim world? Or was it Western Europe and the continent's commitment to multiculturalism, tolerance, and combating the rise of Islamophobia? Of course, it was the jihadists. But without the contribution of Sweden and the rest of Western Europe, Momika would still be alive today. Salwan wasn't killed just because he burnt copies of the Quran, but because leaders of Europe have developed a dhimmi mentality. So many people don't know this, but in 2011, the Iranian government had burnt over 600 copies of the New Testament in Salmas. In 2023, Pakistani Muslims attacked a Christian community in the country, burning copies of the Bible as well as destroying churches. But these countries didn't receive the same indignation Sweden received after Momika burnt a copy of the Quran for the first time. Back in 2023, a few days after Momika burnt a copy of the Quran in front of Stockholm's largest mosque on the first day of Eid, the Turkish president was issuing threats. He said he was going to teach the arrogant Western people a lesson on freedom of expression. Morocco recalled its ambassador to Sweden indefinitely. Other Muslim-majority countries also followed in expressing their condemnation. A Pakistani-based Sunni extremist group was calling for a genocide against Pakistani Christians to avenge Sweden's Quran burning. These countries where religious freedom do not exist and their Christian populations face severe attacks and systemic persecution, we are demanding that Western Europe emulate them and restrict its civil liberties. The appropriate response from Europe should have been,
go yourself. Is that clear?
But not the dhimmis who lead the West. Sweden's government quickly condemned Momika's Quran burning and called it Islamophobic. Even Pope Francis, the proclaimed vicar of Christ, declared to the West that he felt disgusted and angry to see the Quran desecrated. When Momika desecrated the Quran the second time in front of the Iraqi embassy in Sweden, the Muslim world lost its mind again. In Iraq, protesters set fire to the Swedish embassy. The Swedish ambassador was expelled, and Iraq severed diplomatic ties with Sweden. But Momika, for the third time, burnt another copy of the Quran outside the Swedish parliament in Stockholm, and the tension kept increasing. By mid-August, Sweden's intelligence agency had heightened its terror alert level to 4 on a scale of 5. Meanwhile, the Saudi-based Organization of Islamic Cooperation with 57 member states were mounting pressure on Western Europe. They wanted to prevent further burnings of the Quran. That was more important to them than child marriage in the Muslim world. If I was the Prime Minister of Sweden, I would have told the OIC that Sweden would stop public Quran burnings right after Somalia stopped female circumcision. But sadly, sensible people don't get elected in Western Europe. The last time they had a leader with good sense was Winston Churchill. But Momika still burnt the Quran for the fourth and final time at a square in Malmö, a Swedish city with a large Muslim migrant population. The result was a riot that involved pelting of stones, throwing of electric scooters, barriers and bicycles, and burning of dozens of cars. On the evening of 16 October 2023, an ISIS sympathizer killed 2 Swedish nationals attending a football match in Brussels. Upon investigation, it was revealed that the attacker directly targeted Swedes in a potential act of revenge for Momika's Quran burnings. But instead of realizing the danger that Islam poses to a liberal continent that has since decided that blasphemy is protected free speech, the leaders of Western Europe decided to make blasphemy a crime again. They rebranded it and gave it a new name: hate speech. Now they could charge Momika with offenses of agitation against an ethnic or national group, for which they found his accomplice guilty. Sweden's neighbor Denmark also found its Quran burner, Rasmus Paludan, guilty of a similar offense, giving him a 4-month sentence. In the UK, where a Facebook post could land you behind bars, a Quran burner was arrested recently by 2 Muslim Manchester police officers. Before that, in 2023, a student at a UK school was suspended for accidentally causing scuff marks on a few pages of the Quran. The kid was flooded with so many death threats that his mother had to make a public apology, yet the police called his mistake a hate incident. The authorities in Western Europe would do anything to appease their Muslim population, and they are not ashamed to admit this.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Shukran.
To make matters worse, they keep importing Muslims from the Middle East and North Africa into their country in the name of multiculturalism. The result has been multiple terror attacks in response to perceived blasphemy against Islam and its pedophilic Islamic warmongering prophet. The Charlie Hebdo or Danish cartoonist attacks haven't deterred these leaders from welcoming as many Muslim migrants as possible. Reports of Muslim grooming gangs have fallen on deaf ears. Instead, prosecuting so-called hate speech has been their major preoccupation, while criticizing Islam is called the rise of Islamophobia and the far right. This is how Europe aided the killing of Salwan Momika, and even after his death, so many in the continent are yet to realize the harsh truth about Islam and its compatibility with Western values.
Burning books in any context is abhorrent, utterly abhorrent.